So Father Eric, can I get you in trouble? Feel free to ignore this question, but tell us about the monarchical trinity.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it, so I don't know. I'm kind of curious about it. Like, it seems pretty cool. It does seem to fit Roman liturgical texts really well. I think, especially of the doxology at the end of the canon, through him and with him. Oh, I'll reorder it. The problem is in the English translation, it's not properly English. So I'll see if I can. To you, Almighty Father, be glory, awe, and honor forever and ever, through him and with him and in him, in the unity of the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So I hear that, and
Yeah.
and it's like it's a standard part of Trinitarian theology to have the Father be the unbegotten one, and all things come from him, and all things return to him. So, like, I'm pretty open minded about it, but I don't want to like hop in the boat when I don't know enough about the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is
and
the plug in there?
Pretty sure you can't deny the Filioque.
So is that actually like a part of it?
Well, so
because as far as I'm concerned, the Holy Spirit does proceed from the Father.
Official Roman Catholic texts on this are always very clear to add the line, right, that they hold to the Filioque in a way that does not undermine the monarchy of the Father.
Right.
So there's sort of a realization. Now, the Orthodox argument on the other side is that's like saying I'm going to add 2 + 2 and have it not equal 4, right?
Okay.
In such a way that, right? That's that
no comment.
Yeah. That ultimately it does, right? That ultimately it does kind of undermine it, right? So that's our counter. And by our, I mean St. Photius the Great, who is less of a great figure on your side of the fence. So, but it's really sort of the original formulation, right? That takes seriously, right? Like I just read Thursday night when Christ says, and this is life, to know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you have sent. Right? To take seriously the fact that that statement by Christ means something. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that Jesus isn't divine, but it does mean something about the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to take even the grammar of the Nicene Creed, right? In Greek, it's nominatives and apposition, right? I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, right? Nominatives and apposition, it's basically one God, namely the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then Christ is God from God. Right. And so it is not the egalitarian model of the Trinity tends to reduce the persons. Often St. Augustine gets blamed for this, I think more than he should. But later Augustinianism did do this, kind of collapse the persons into just, well, there are these relations within the Godhead, right? where they're not actual persons with personal integrity, right? It's just sort of various relations that exist within the divine essence, right? Whereas on the other side, taking seriously, God is ase, he is uncaused. He does not receive the divine nature from another person. There's nothing that stands behind the Father, including the divine essence. So another way that the egalitarian Trinity is expressed is you sort of have the divine essence in the background, and then the three persons sort of emerge from it in some way.
It turns into a fourth person, yeah.
Right. And so there is no, the Father is the simple possessor of the divine essence. And then the Son receives the divine essence, the divine nature from the Father by begetting. And like St. Gregory the Theologian says, you ask me what exactly begetting means, I go, like, and the Holy Spirit receives it through procession. And you ask what exactly that means, we go, but this is where the Filioque becomes a problem.
Yeah,
for us, right?
So I I don't see how the Filioque actually does anything against the one origin of the Father. If the Son has already proceeded from the Father, right? It's already received. It's getting close to my bedtime, so I'm going to try my best here. But has already received.
We're going deep here, so yeah,
divinity and life and everything, the perfect image of the Father, and then so if you've already received that, and then the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, like the fact that the Son has already received that, it is now involved in the spiration. I don't see how that actually does anything against the monarchy of the Father.
So I think what you're expressing is close to what, for example, St. Maximus, the confessor, suggested in his defense of the Latins is, he said, if you understand this as the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father through the Son, right? That's not our normal way of talking, but we can work with that, right? But the classical expression of the Filioque in the West is that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son as from a single principle. And that's where we have an issue, right? Because they were like, well, wait a second, what does that mean? Right? Like they're pooling the resources, or are we appealing to the essence behind?
Can you give me a name of a theologian who would have used that?
I will get you references for that.
Okay.
I'll get you references for that. I can't off the top of my head right now. But
so I don't know why the Jew here is coming to the Catholic's defense. But,
I know. This surprises me every time it happens.
But one explanation that I have gotten for how the Filioque is that it is referring to the fact that that Jesus says he is sending the Spirit.
Yeah, that's that through idea again. Yeah, which we can work with, right? So it's a question of and I'll try to I'll get you some references on that single.
Because this happens to me a fair bit, and maybe I'm wrong about things, but I'll hear darts thrown at Western theology.
Yeah.
And then I will look at where the darts lands, and I'm like, you hit the 14th century.
Yeah.
But you didn't hit Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah.
And it's like that's my touch point. So if you can find that in Aquinas, it's like, oh boy, I take this seriously.
I'll check out Thomas's discussion of the Filioque, because I think he's more on that side of it.
Yeah, and that's what I was taught, and yeah.
So. But I will take a look. But that understanding we can work with, and that's what the debate gets into a lot when you read St. Photius's Mystagogy. Right, when you read St. Maximus, the confessor's defense of the Latins, they were on opposite sides of that, right? So St. Photius is saying, no, the way they understand this is totally wrong. We can't be in communion with that. And St. Maximus is saying, it sounds wrong, but the way they understand it is kind of okay, right?
I mean, out of all the things I worry about, it's not the Filioque. Like in terms of like ecumenical relations and the possibility of a grand reunification. It's the papacy and the differences in the way we handle marriage, especially divorce. Those are the two things that make me nervous. I feel like if you got a bunch of monks in a monastery for 6 months and asked them to hack out a formula, they'd be able to do it, that we could both agree to. And we would just say, you guys don't have to recite the Filioque in your creed. Good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and we would say, well, as long as by that you mean this. Yeah. So it becomes much worse. Here we go again. But John Calvin is the one who really mutilates it, because he takes it further. He argued that the Son was.
Matt hasn't had a word in edgewise, and I feel something rising out of him.
But he said the Son was avtotheos, was God Himself, meaning ase, meaning did not receive it from the Father.
Well, that's wrong.
Yes.
Listen. As a good Calvinist, as the resident, way too many smells and bells here. As the resident Calvinist, I gotta say,